Welcome back to Duckman Cycles VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. Normally I laugh right at the end of that little bit of intro, and usually a lot of my people give me great reviews saying that they enjoy that one thing. And if I leave it out, they're just not satisfied or happy. So down in the comments down below, let me know what you think. Do you like to laugh at the beginning of my videos or what? You know, I'll give you one right now. Thanks for visiting Duckman Cycles, the VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. So anyways, we're back today with my 1956 Volkswagen Beetle right here behind me. Her name is Eleanor, and a real quick background, she was actually a hurricane car under 6 feet of seawater during Hurricane Ivan about 12 years ago. Unfortunately, she was left outside for 10 years before I got to her, so she pretty much caved in. And I mean, quite literally, she broke in the middle, the doors hit the ground, the nose end went right up in the air, and she broke. I mean, just busted right in half. So I cut her to pieces and tried to rebuild it the best that I could. Every panel on it needed to be replaced. I mean, just about every panel, not just about, exactly every panel had something in it needed to be fixed. So I did the best that I could to rebuild it with what I had, rather than using original parts, and left the original parts in the market for people to rebuild cars to original spec. I did the best I could with whatever I had available, including parts of cars from other years, or using some old Kenmore stoves. About 2 or 3 stoves and washing machines actually went into this car. I cut them up and used the metal from them, and a lot of it was the right gauge, so I put the car back together the best I could, and that's what you see right here. So anyways, we're back today, and there's not a whole lot that I can do. We are currently post-Hurricane Gordon, and I don't know if any of this rain has anything to do with it, but it's been raining pretty heavily for the last 2 days, and then today we got a break, and it was actually really nice today. It's 78 degrees at about noon today, which is unheard of this time of year in Florida. We haven't started getting the fall weather yet. But post-storm, usually we get a cool day, and, well, this was a cool day. But anyways, it's my day off today, and I'm trying not to be bothered too much, but you know what happens, and you guys watch my videos, you see it all the time. My phone constantly goes off on my days off. And today was no different. And that kept me busy for most of the day, and in between I was making phone calls or making stops at various hardware stores looking for some rear caliper bolts. Now, if you remember correctly, I've got 944 calipers, so I had to put 944 caliper bolts on there, and I never thought to order these in advance, and I thought I had a couple sets that would work, and they didn't. I had to do some shopping around. I found them online. They were even hard to find online. I don't know why they're so hard. And everybody here in town either said, no, I'm sorry, we only do American sizes, or they opened up the bin and it was empty. And finally I called one company, and they said, well, we have 4. I said, well, fantastic. I said, I'll take all 4 of them. I'm going to need some more for the front, but I have plenty of time to work that out. I need to put the rear calipers together nonetheless, so we're going to go ahead and get started on that first. But with it raining, I don't know just how much I can do today, so this might be kind of a short kind of video. So we'll do the best that we can with what we got, and unfortunately the car's going to stay in the garage, but I think I can work on little bits and pieces of things. I got some stuff I got to put back together. So, with that said, like, comment, subscribe, share this video with your friends. Make sure you check me out over my Facebook group page, Duckman Cycles VW Garage. Join the group. We got 300 people, and I mean, I think we took on about 40 people in the last few days. For some reason, that group is just starting to explode. Real quickly starting to explode. There's a lot of people sharing their projects on there, and I invite you to share your project. I don't care if it's a Volkswagen or not. I don't care if it's a motorcycle or not. Whatever you're working on, you got Mopar, you got a helicopter. Share it. I want to see what you got. Get up to my group page, share it on the group page. Other YouTubes, don't forget, check me out on VV the Duck VV, which is where my hurricane videos from Hurricane Gordon were the last couple days, and also on Skeeter the Duck. Occasionally we get to update that when Skeeter's into something new. Currently she's in the back taking a bath in the pool with her brother. Thanks for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it, and stay tuned. Here comes the intro. Boom. Be-doop, 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 boop-boo. There's the duckies. What happened to your pool? Looked like it drained out, huh? This pool's got a leak. I figured we were going to make it through the season, and I'll get them a new one next season. Come on, Skeeter, get out of there. You didn't want to get out, huh? Well, it's raining. They were playing in the pool, and that's too bad for the rain, but I'm hoping they'll dry off soon so I can bring them in. We let a duck take a bath and they get soaked up like a sponge like this, and yeah, they can't come inside for a few hours because they just spray everywhere. And over here we got Kirby. And Kirby's a box turtle, but I give him a bath once a week too because he starts to stink. So I take him outside in the bin here and I let him play for a little while. It looks like he's resting, but he's actually one of the most active box turtles I have ever seen. And I got a video about him I'm going to post in a little while. He kind of moved in with me here, and he's actually a very welcome addition to the family. He probably won't be staying forever though. I'm going to find a place to take him and let him go. But he's been around for a while, and I'm fattening him up on some really good foods. He's been eating a lot of really nice vegetables and things, and he's actually been eating some pieces of chicken. He's not a picky eater. You would expect a wild box turtle to not eat certain things, and that's what I've experienced before. They just don't want to eat. But this one eats like the dickens. Anyway, his name is Kirby. I've actually got a video of him climbing out of the street and up my front yard all the way up to the front door. So yeah, he's from the street, from the curb. Kirby. Right, Kirby? He's incredibly tame. I got a feeling he may have been somebody's pet. I think he escaped somehow. Anyway, back to our regular scheduled program. Since we can't really get outside today because it's doing a whole lot of raining, I figured I'd sit in here and do a little work on indoors where, of course, I've got air conditioning, everything's nice and cool and dry, and wanted to show you my master cylinder. Now, if you remember correctly, I told you we were going to do some noodly kind of painting on it, and you really can't see it in this light in here. Looking at the camcorder, it actually looks like all kinds of wacky purples, but it's actually kind of a pearlescent blue, and it's got a metal flake in it. And the surface on this is not absolutely smooth. If I really wanted to go nuts, I probably should have filled it a little better and sanded it down so it was like glass, and then painted it, and you would have really seen the metal flake in it. But since it's a master cylinder and you're really not going to see it anyway, I went way overboard by painting it the way I did. But it's looking pretty good. Figured I'd give it a shot here. You know, working on this here, I'm starting to feel like I feel like AVE with this cutting mat down here with multiple colors and all kinds of junk thrown around everywhere. Gentle dudes! With my Fargan Skeecher. I know that's wrong. I'm not trying to be a copycat. I was actually doing a parody. That was a joke. Thanks for watching. Keep your duck if it's nice. So anyway, we gotta pull these little plugs out of here that I made. Did that to keep the paint out, of course. Just getting a little bit of paint that got in here out, so that way it doesn't foul up the seal. Looks like paper towel has been bled on. Those of you that work in the garage know exactly what I'm talking about, because what do we use for bandages? Tape and whatever kind of absorbent material we can get a hold of. Because that's what being a real man is all about. Real men don't use Band-Aids. Paper towel is absorbent, of course, and when I clean this thing off with a little bit of dish soap, got it wet. Not too wet, because I packed it in really densely, but wet enough that some of the moisture did get in there and caused just a little bit of rust underneath the lip. The lip on the inside here. The lip is where that seal goes. Okay. Rubber gogies, which are these little donuts here. Simply just press right in the holes. That's why it's important that flange, which this little seal sits in, and the seal, must be in good shape. Okay. Here's our reservoir. Reservoir, I think in the earlier video I had it on backwards. This has to be towards the front bulkhead because I believe a tie rod actually passes over this side. So it's going to have to be closer to the bulkhead, which is not a big deal. This sucker. Just make sure it's clean, there's no dirt or other nonsense on there. And then just press it in. Alright. Pull off some of this tape. Not bad. There's our master cylinder. I think that turned out pretty good. Now each one of these little ports here, I'm going to have to pull these out of these too and make sure they're nice and clean also. Actually, that one's fine. I bet you these are going to be much better off than the big plugs were because the big plugs can take on much more water much more quickly because they're much more absorbent with that much more paper towel. That one was clean also. So was that one. I'll blow these out with a compressor just to make sure that there's no paper towel dust. There we go. I feel like I'm popping blackheads here like those blackhead popping videos. If you haven't seen those on the internet they're pretty disgusting. But they're so entertaining to watch. You'll notice that this master cylinder has 5 holes on it. Right here is the rear brake. This one goes to the rear brake, and then there's a T that splits out and it goes to both sides. Right here you have your front brake. These two are front. This one, of course, goes off to the left. This one goes off to the right. The reason why it's on top and not to the right is because the frame head comes around this way, so it's practically impossible to get in here and impossible to get a brake line in here to this side. Now, on a Type 3, it does not have the top one. It actually has one on the right side, and that's the difference between a master cylinder on a Type 3 and a Type 1. Also not threaded here. Instead, the threads are actually inside the car, so the bolts go in this way, which actually is really the way it should be on a Type 1 also. It's kind of silly that they didn't do it that way because it's a two-person job to install it, unless, of course, your body is off of the car like mine is. Right now, all I have to do is stick this in here, reach over the Napoleon's hat, and run the screws in. Of course, if the car was built, this would be sealed off. There's no way for you to get in there. So you need one guy to hold this thing and another guy to run the bolts in. You could be creative, and there's a few other ways to do it, but that's what we got here. So in regards to my Porsche braking system that we're upgrading on here, I found out that my stainless steel brake lines that I ordered up for the Beetle are actually going to work just fine. The threaded ends on everything and the length of them is actually still the right size to get them to fit to the 944 trailing arms. This end will actually fit, I believe it's a little short one, will actually go into the T. Remember I mentioned the T that comes off of this, comes to the back, goes off to a T, so you have one on each side. So essentially, opposite ends of the car, they'll be like this. There'll be a line that connects to the right side, but the left side will connect right to that T, right over to here on this end. It goes through the swing arm, literally just like that, right through, and then a clip goes on this, and it will fit just like stock, as if it was intended for the 944 swing arm. So that is really, really nice to know. And in addition to that, I also discovered, now this doesn't screw directly in here, but the threads are the same size on the brake line, but the threads fit. It just screws all together. So this is really, really nice to know that all this stuff is going to fit so easily and so readily without having to get some special custom brake lines or any other crazy nonsense. So I'm really happy for that. That's actually a really good breakthrough, one less thing to worry about. We also today got a package. And I was not expecting this today, but while I was recording the intro video, the mailman shot right on past the front door. And this is something I hadn't mentioned before. I mentioned my rear sway bar. And in here is actually some components. Got here a lot faster than I expected it to. I didn't think it would be here till late this week. Well, it is late this week. It's already Thursday. Alright. Now, I mentioned this in passing before. These are the bolts that go into the rear trailing arms. And if you notice, the bolt threaded stem is offset because it has a lobe on it. This is a cammed bolt. This is the one that's responsible for you to set your toe in, or your camber, depending upon which way you adjust this and the tool that goes in behind it. And then this actually goes from the inside this way, and there's a big nut that goes on the outside. The guy didn't have the nuts, so he didn't ship them to me, but that's not a big deal. On the bottom, this would then dangle down below. Your rear sway bar would attach to this. Now, we have a small problem with attaching my rear sway bar. One, I think it's going to be a little bit too wide. I think it's going to come out here somewhere. We're going to have to look at that. And two, I think it's too long. It's going to come way back over here somewhere, and it's going to miss the link entirely. And the last problem is, the sway bar's flange, bolt flange, is like this. It's not vertical, such as this, so there's no way to actually attach it to without making a 90-degree bracket, or I can cut the sway bar. And yes, you can cut a sway bar. I've actually looked into this. A lot of hot rod guys do modify them to fit their other cars. But generally, if you were going to cut a sway bar, they would narrow them, so they cut them in the middle, and they cut them one time, once. Because if you cut it in too many places, the sway bar being spring steel, it will lose its springy tendency. Whereas if you just weld it in the middle, you really haven't messed it up that much. It's actually unacceptable. It'll still be functional. But in my case, I'll just be cutting off the attachments on the end. And on the end, there's actually very little stress, because all the twisting action happens in the middle of the sway bar somewhere else. So yes, I can actually cut the end off the sway bar and put it onto this. Just shorten it up a little bit, turn it 90 degrees, and bolt it in there. I think I can make that work. I'm going to do a little bit more inspection on this when I got the chassis out, because of course it's been raining today. These parts are actually really clean. They look like they were probably installed on a car, maybe run one season. They might actually even be new. I mean, you can still see the fancy gold color that's on there, the ship with that zinc. But these bolts are nice to have. It's been hard to find these. I've been shopping for these online, and I can't find them on their own. So I was looking for a set of drop links, and boom, there was the bolts already installed in it. And I went, yeah, give me those. Those are mine. I want those. We got them. So now I can set my alignment and play with all the proper settings that the 944 has rather than just using straight bolts that are in there now. Those are going to be good to go. As I said, raining outside today, not a whole lot more work I can do. I just wanted to show some of the stuff that I had going on here. I thank you guys for watching. I thank you always for commenting. I thank you for subscribing. For those of you that just joined the channel for the first time, make sure you subscribe and pluck that little dingle belly down there next to the subscribe button. That way you get updates every time I upload a new video. Please also check out my other channels, VV the Duck VV, where my Hurricane Gordon stuff went up from Pensacola just yesterday. So if you're curious as to how bad that was, or I should say how bad it wasn't, you can actually watch the videos on that. And then of course we got Skeeter the Duck. If you haven't seen my little ducky channels, you need to. She lives here in the house. She's actually chilling in the other room right now, and she's waiting for me to come back to her and bring her some dinner. Thanks you guys for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.